Welcome to another episode of the Flood Watch podcast. Hi, I'm Congressman Mike Flood, here to bring you the latest updates from Capitol Hill, key issues shaping the debate in Washington, and news that matters most to Nebraska and the nation. Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive right in, as Congress has been busy delivering on President Trump's agenda this week. First up, the House voted to repeal a Biden-era regulation. This measure was introduced by Senator Ricketts. I introduced a similar measure in the House. Over the last 4 years, progressive activists sought to dramatically expand the regulatory authority of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, better known as the CFPB. One of the tools Biden's activists used to achieve their goal was the larger participants rule, which sought to regulate non-bank consumer payments, firms like Zelle and Venmo. Congress has not given the CFPB this authority. Rolling back this regulation is critical to ensuring that the CFPB doesn't become a barrier to innovation for job creators across America. I look forward to President Trump signing this measure into law. The House also passed the SAVE Act, a crucial bill that ensures election integrity. This common-sense legislation simply requires states to verify proof of citizenship in person before registering someone to vote in a federal election. Additionally, the SAVE Act enables states to remove non-citizens from voter rolls by allowing them to cross-check their databases with those of DHS and Social Security for free. Last Congress, the SAVE Act had bipartisan support when it passed the House, but Senate Democrats refused to take up the bill. I look forward to seeing Senate Republicans move this bill forward so it can finally reach the president's desk. Next, House Republicans also successfully passed the No Rogue Rulings Act this week. As you've likely seen in the media, a single judge can often bog down President Trump's entire agenda through nationwide injunctions. Unlike federal judges, the President of the United States is elected by the whole country. While the courts are an important check on the executive and legislative branches, we cannot allow one of the over 650 district court judges to single-handedly grind our nation to a halt. This legislation restores necessary checks and balances between our branches of government. Finally, congressional Republicans cleared one of the final hurdles in unlocking the budget reconciliation process. Through tough negotiations with my colleagues in the House and counterparts in the Senate, we've formally launched our efforts to deliver much-needed tax relief for hardworking Americans, along with opening the door for key conservative policy wins like securing our border. It's important that we renew the Trump tax cut so we can continue to grow our economy. Should these tax cuts expire, hardworking Nebraskans across our first district will see an average increase of $1,600 in their tax bill next year. Simply put, the economic impacts of allowing the Trump tax cuts to expire will be devastating. We will not allow this to happen. In other news, President Trump officially levied increased tariffs on economies that have used unfair trade practices for decades. Whether it's the European Union imposing a 10% tariff on all American cars against our 2.5% tariff on European cars, Brazil placing an 18% tariff on American ethanol while we have only a 2% tariff on theirs, or Australia banning all American beef over so-called quote-unquote biosecurity concerns, despite us importing upwards of $3 billion of their beef every year. President Trump is currently negotiating trade deals that will give our companies and goods a fair shake abroad. I want you to know that my team and I are closely following these trade negotiations and the impacts of these tariffs. We cannot forget that President Trump strategically used tariffs and the threat of more to achieve the USMCA trade agreement and our deal with China. We can also forget that President Biden negotiated 0 trade deals during his 4 years, a first since Jimmy Carter was president. And that's a wrap for this week's Flood Watch podcast. If you haven't already, I encourage you to sign up for my Flood Watch newsletter at flood.house.gov. It's the best way to stay updated on everything happening in Washington and in our district. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.